After the climactic events of Spawn number 350, Gunslinger Spawn finds himself on Earth without his powers and mortal. It's not going to be easy road for Javi, but let's find out how rough or easy it's going to be in our review of Gunslinger Spawn number 29 from Image Comics. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Gunslinger Spawn number 29 from Image Comics. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated, and stay tuned to the end for our final rating and score. So this is Gunslinger Spawn number 29 from Image Comics, written by Todd McFarlane, the man himself, art by Carlo Barberi, colors by Ivan Nunez, one of the best colorists in the industry right now, letters by Tom Orzechowski, and the cover art for the main cover is done by Vaughn Randall. So let's recap what happened before, and so that we can figure out where we're headed now. So in the earth-shattering, world-changing, status quo upending Spawn number 350, Hell has a new king. I'm not going to spoil it here in case you haven't read it, but please do. It's a good one. And as a result of the new king sitting on the throne, fingers snapped and sent everybody away to their respective corners, demons and angels alike. And as a side effect from what we found out, the dead zones that had been popping up all over Earth had grown so far that they encompassed the entire world. And now all the spawns, not just Gunslinger, but all the spawns have no more powers, and they are effectively mortal, which includes Javi, aka Gunslinger Spawn. That's what happened at least in Spawn 350, not necessarily the previous issue in this series, but that's the big enough change that everything picks up from there. So now we're in number 29, Gunslinger Spawn number 25. And what's happening now? Javi is just hiding out. He's trying to figure out where is his place in this world. How is he going to avenge his corrupted and destroyed sister Amy? And how is he just going to figure out how is he going to make his way in the world? Because he's mortal, his powers don't work, and he really has no place to call home. So where we pick up with him is he's stuck in this motel. He's got a bunch of guns, a big bag full of money, and unfortunately he's got a bunch of wounds from right after the snap that are healing very slowly, or in some cases maybe not even healing at all. After a brief flashback, we see that right after the snap, he was dropped off on Earth, still armed, but without his powers, facing off against a cadre of angels that he was fighting in Hell. But the angels are likewise also powerless. Their wings are gone. They don't have any supernatural powers, but they still outnumbered him, say 5-1. So he gets into a big fight. They start to hack away and shoot at each other, or not shoot at each other, but just to stab each other, fight each other, punch each other, kick each other. He gets stabbed in the gut with a spear, but at the very last minute, his horse, his magical sort of Ghost Rider-like horse, manages to pick him up and take him away. So there's a clue there. There's a clue, and the clue is not everybody's without their powers. His horse is still running around, and the horse is like flames and very sort of hybrid demonic looking. The horse still has some sort of mystical energy. So something's a little bit off, or at least there's a clue there that may lead to an eventual restoration, but we'll find out. Cut to today, Javi is holed up in this motel. He's nursing his wounds very slowly. He's used to healing much faster, and it's not working the way it used to. And then he comes out to find that the cleaning lady is being harassed by a bunch of gang members, and he scares him off with the display of guns and knives, but she knows that they'll be back, and she gives him a stern talking to for not minding his own business in a very sort of modern feminist lecture, if you will. Javi takes in a good stride, goes back to his room. She comes back later to apologize because he did get her out of a jam. And she says, maybe overdid a little bit, but I hope you're okay because you don't look like you're feeling too well. Javi says, well, those guys, not when they took off, not only took off with the promise of coming back, but they also destroyed his motorcycle. So he says, I have an offer that you can't refuse, starting to take stacks out of his big bag of money. And off they go because she's going to either be a chauffeur or give him a ride or do something, not quite sure, but they ride off into the sunset in this little Volkswagen Beetle. So that's it. Now, if you're wondering, is there some big monumental event? What's the big wow moment? What's the big idea coming out of this issue, which is what we're always looking for in every single issue? There really isn't one. It's really more world building and character building with Javi's new status quo. If that's enough for you, great. If it's not enough for you, you might find this issue is a little thin on the wow factor. But that's just, it sort of depends on your preference for Todd McFarlane's brand of writing. It's really all about the art. And the art is, well, I'll get to the art in a minute. So what do we like about GunSlinger Spawn number 29? Interesting tidbits and development of the new status quo and the new status of spawns in this world. You don't get everything, but you do get a lot, so you're filled in with a lot of pieces. Also, as a side note, or an interesting factoid, there are a couple spots that are made reference to in this issue with King Spawn number 31, which also comes out this week, and stay tuned for that. We're going to have a review for that out shortly. So the two have some overlapping points of interest. So if you pick this issue up, you'll see a few editor's notes. I would also recommend you pick up King Spawn number 31 to pair with this, because they both have some connective tissue that coalesces the two stories together. So good world building, good character building. Javi's in a new situation. It's a new status quo. So we're getting a lot of information about how things have changed on Earth after Spawn number 350. On the flip side, what didn't we like about Gunslinger Spawn number 29? The plot is a little thin. I mean, Gunslinger Spawn's primary mission of going after the guys who corrupted and destroyed his sister Amy is still in effect, but now he just has to go about it in a different way, because he's effectively a mortal guy, just like he was back in the Old West. So the direction of the story hasn't changed from an overarching plot perspective, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot of wow factor in this issue. You learn a lot, but there's no big idea. There's no big development other than Gunslinger Spawn's going on the road, and maybe he has a new partner, a cleaning lady from a motel named Belinda. I don't know if that would qualify as a big wow moment, but there it is. Okay. So what about the art? Carlo Barberi is a phenomenal artist, and Todd understands that even when the story is good, you still have to have fantastic art. Art before story has pretty much been the Spawn model almost from the very beginning of Image Comics, and that's no exception here. You'll never see a Spawn comic go out with terrible art, and this is no exception. Barberi knocks it out of the park. The art looks fantastic. Even with characters just standing around in a motel, the art still looks fantastic. The simple act of changing bandages around his torso because he's still bleeding for Javi, it still looks fantastic. This is a gorgeous book from start to finish. You can't go wrong. Plus you have Ivan Nunez, who again is probably, in my estimation, one of the best colorists around. So if you like the art and you can forgive a weakness in the story as long as the art looks fantastic, you'll get that compensation here. So final thoughts. What do we think about Gunslinger Spawn number 29 from Image Comics? Interesting world building, interesting peek into a new status quo for not just Gunslinger but all the Spawns, plus a little bit of information about what happened after the big snap. And it looks like they're back onto their previous adventure of tracking down and hunting down the people who were responsible for Amy's corruption and destruction. On the flip side, there's not a whole lot that happens in this issue other than Javi may have found a writing partner or driving partner or chauffeur, if you want to look at it that way, which is okay, but it's not a big deal. So in other words, this issue is all about the world building, but there's not much plot to it. Therefore, we're going to give Gunslinger Spawn number 29 we're going to go a little bit higher but a little bit lower at the same time. We're going to give it a 7.8 out of 10. So thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you like more comic reviews, please stay tuned through the outro.